All right, let's talk about buying a house. I mean, for most of us, it's the biggest, most expensive thing we'll ever do. And that entire massive process, it all boils down to one single document, the contract. It's basically the rule book for the whole game, and if you want to win, you got to know the rules. So let's dive in and figure out how to play.
Okay, imagine you're about to start a new video game, but right at the beginning, you have to pick one of two rulebooks. The first one gives you a partner, and that partner has to help you fix any broken stuff you find along the way. The second rulebook? Nah, you're on your own for all the fixes, but it gives you a special get-out-of-the-game free card that you can play for literally any reason at all. That's pretty much the choice you're making when you sign a contract to buy a house.
So what even is a real estate contract? Well, think of it as the official rulebook that both you, the buyer, and the seller agree to follow. Every single step, every deadline, who's responsible for what, it's all written down right there. And the rules you pick at the very start can completely change how the whole game is played.
So think of this like one of those choose-your-own-adventure books. We're going to look at the two main paths you can take when you make an offer on a house. Path 1 is the standard contract, where the seller actually agrees to make some repairs. Path 2 is what we call the as-is contract. And trust me, each one leads to a very different journey.
Okay, let's head down path number 1. I like to call this the teamwork option. With this contract, the buyer and the seller, well, they have some shared responsibilities. The seller can't just toss you the keys and walk away. Nope, they have a job to do.
Now this whole teamwork thing really comes down to one key phrase: working condition. This is the promise the seller is making. Now, it doesn't mean everything has to be shiny and brand new. Not at all. It just means the important systems in the house have to do the job they were built for. You know, the AC needs to actually cool the house. The oven needs to get hot. And the toilets, well, they definitely need to flush.
So what exactly are we talking about here? Well, the contract lists out what it calls general repair items. This is the big-ticket stuff, right? Your heating and cooling systems, the plumbing, so you don't have any surprise indoor waterfalls, your major appliances like the stove and dishwasher, and even the pool equipment. And this is a huge one. It also means the roof can't have any active leaks.
So, how does this actually play out? It's pretty simple, really. First, you, the buyer, you go and hire a professional inspector to check out every nook and cranny. And let's say that inspector finds a leaky pipe under the kitchen sink. Okay. So you give the seller a copy of that inspection report, and under this contract, the seller is obligated to fix it. They have to get that pipe back into working condition.
But, and this is a really big but, there's a limit to this teamwork. The seller isn't just writing a blank check here. The contract sets something called a general repair limit, which is basically a cap on how much money they have to spend. It's often a percentage of the home's price, maybe 1% or so. So for a $250,000 house, you might have a cap just like this, $2,500. If the repairs cost less than that, the seller pays. But if that leaky pipe turns into a huge plumbing disaster that costs more, well, then everybody's got to come back to the table and figure it out.
All right, let's switch gears and explore our second path, the as-is contract. Now, if the first path was all about teamwork, this one's more of a solo mission. You're going to see this contract a lot, especially when the market is hot and sellers kind of have all the power. But don't worry, because this path comes with a special power-up that makes it really appealing.
The difference between these two paths could not be more night and day. With the as-is contract, the seller has zero obligation to fix anything. A leaky roof, a broken AC, a ghost in the attic, not their problem. The name says it all. You are buying that property exactly as it is. So you're probably thinking, why on earth would any buyer choose this? It sounds so risky. Well, here's the thing. In exchange for taking on all that risk for repairs, the buyer gets something incredibly valuable in return: a superpower. The absolute, no questions asked right to cancel the contract.
This right here, this is the heart and soul of the as-is contract. Let's read this carefully. If buyer determines in buyer's sole discretion, that phrase, in buyer's sole discretion, that is everything. It means if you, the buyer, decide the house isn't acceptable for any reason that matters to you, you can walk away. No arguments, no debates, game over.
And when they say any reason, they really mean any reason. The inspection shows a crack in the foundation, you can cancel. You find out the neighbor practices their tuba at 3 in the morning, you can cancel. You just wake up one day and decide the house has, I don't know, weird vibes, you can cancel. It gives you, the buyer, the ultimate control during that inspection period. So there we have it, two totally different paths. One gives you protection for repairs, and the other gives you the ultimate flexibility. So let's put them side by side in a final showdown and see which one might be right for you.
Okay, so here's the trade-off, plain and simple. In the seller repairs contract, the seller helps pay for repairs, but your ability to walk away is pretty limited. You can really only get out if the repairs get way too expensive. But with the as-is contract, you're on the hook for all the fixes, but you get that amazing escape hatch to cancel for any reason at all. So it really comes down to a choice. Do you want protection or do you want flexibility?
This chart really nails the power dynamic. The as-is buyer has by far the most flexibility to just walk away. Now, this might sound kind of strange, but a lot of sellers actually prefer this contract. And you might be asking why. Well, it's because it puts all the pressure on the buyer during a short inspection window. Once that time is up, the deal is pretty much solid. There are no surprise repair arguments later on. For the seller, it just means certainty.
So, after all this, why does this one choice at the very beginning matter so much? Because buying a house isn't just about finding a place you love. It's about getting through a really complex and expensive process without any major disasters.
Let's go all the way back to our video beam analogy. You wouldn't just jump into a game without knowing the rules, would you? Of course not. You'd want to know how to score points, what the power-ups are, and how to avoid losing. The contract is your rulebook, and choosing the right one for your situation is the single most important strategic decision you're going to make.
So, I'll leave you with this last thought. Imagine you're standing in your dream home. It is perfect in every single way, except the inspector just told you the air conditioning unit is on its last legs, and it's going to cost thousands to replace. What do? Which power would you rather have in your hands at that exact moment? The power to make the seller help pay for it, or the absolute power to just say, you know what, never mind, and walk away without a single regret? The answer to that question tells you which contract might just be the right one for you.